We ask, beloved Master Jesus Christ, that your peace enter all of our homes, our hearts, and our minds, and may be able to apply what that we learn here in our daily lives to the best of our abilities. And permission to start the second part of our work. So be it. All right, so today we have the two last cases of this book, Heaven and Hell. And as I always mention, the most important title of the book to me is not the title itself, but the subtitle, Divine Justice According to Spiritism. We start this book, I believe, in March of 18, and it's been just about 2 years. I think it's pretty good to complete this book. Not in a hurry. If we finish today, we finish today. If not, we'll finish next week. But today we have the case of Anna Bitter. Let me get my book because I'll have to read. And who's going to do the reading for us?
Okay, I'll read, Elmo.
You.
Okay. Ready?
I am.
Okay. Anna Bitter. To be struck by the loss of a beloved child is an excruciating cause of grief. However, seeing an only child, the object of all your highest hopes, on whom your only affection has been concentrated, wither before your eyes and fade without pain due to unknown causes, is one of those whims of nature that baffles science. Exhausting all your resources on the matter, becoming certain that there is no hope, and bearing this anguish every day for many years without seeing an end to it, is cruel suffering. It is a kind of suffering that wealth aggravates rather than mitigates, because you had hoped that such wealth would someday be enjoyed by this beloved person. Such was the situation of Anna Bitter's father, his soul seized by somber despair and his character growing more and more embittered before a distressing spectacle whose end result, albeit indeterminate, could only be fatal. A family friend and this disciple of Spiritism believed he ought to ask his protective spirit regarding the matter and receive the following response.
Thank you.
I greatly desire. Oh, stop here?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So we have the case here of Anna Bitter that in reality is more about of her father than her herself, as you're going to see soon. A spirit who at a young age contracted a chronic disease that would eventually lead to her physical death. And one of those things that nature throws at us and science does not have an answer to. In this case, they didn't know the cause. Sometimes we do know the cause, but we still don't have an answer to it. And that was her case. Interesting to note that although she had this chronic disease that was leading her to a slow death, she was without pain. But the father is one who was in tremendous amount of pain, which is somewhat understandable. You want a child that you have hope to grow up to be something in the future, that you witness a slow death, although not painful to her, extremely painful to the father. Has one family friend that was a medium, or had friends who were a medium, but was devoted to the Spiritism, was a student of Spiritism, had compassion towards that child, and was seeking to understand a little bit more of the matter. So he asked his protective spirit for some kind of understanding in the matter. So again, or he was a medium, or he received that understanding through a medium. Okay, any questions, any comments? Go ahead.
Okay. I greatly desire to explain this strange phenomenon, for I know that your asking me does not derive from indiscreet curiosity, but from your interest in this poor child. Because you believe in divine justice, it will be a beneficial teaching. Those whom the Lord wills to strike must bow their head and not rebel, and there is never punishment without cause. This poor girl whose death sentence has been suspended by God must soon return to be among us, for God has taken pity on her and her father. That unhappy man in his midst must be punished through his sole affection in this world for having mocked the trust and sentiments of those around him. For the time being, his repentance has touched the omnipotent, and death has withheld its blow from her dear head. But his rebelliousness is returning, and punishment always follows rebellion. Be happy it is on earth that you are punished. Pray, my friends, for this poor child, whose tender age will render her last moments difficult. The sap of youth is so abundant in this poor being that, in spite of her frail state, her soul will have difficulty disengaging itself. Oh, pray. Later, she will help and console you, for her spirit is more evolved than those around her. Due to special permission from our Lord, I was able to answer what you have asked me, since it is necessary that this spirit be helped to make her disengagement easier.
Thank you.
The father died late. Okay.
All right, thanks. So this family friend, student of Spiritism, was able to get his spiritual guide or his protecting spirit to provide some answers considering that case. And the spiritual guide states very clearly that the reason that he was providing those informations to them was because he understood that they are not seeking to gain information for mere curiosity, but they have an interest in assisting that poor child. And of course, because they're more elevated spirits, never waste an opportunity to teach. So this became another important lesson for that group, for those individuals as well. But again, not simply for curiosity. More enlightened spirit will not go along with providing information just for mere curiosity, but always an opportunity to help, an opportunity to teach. So basically, we have this spirit undergoing what seems from us in the physical sense a difficult a reincarnation, talking about a child. And you have one father suffering because of his inability to consider others. He was extremely selfish in the sense, João, do you still have the definition of selfishness that you had read before? No, never mind, it's gonna be hard for you. But in the definition at the end, it says, selfishness is also in disregard towards other, right? At the very end of the definition was disregard towards other. And that's exactly the problem of this individual.
I have it here, Amo, I got it.
Thanks.
The quality of our state of being selfish, a concern for one's own welfare or advantage at the expense of or in disregard of others.
disregard of others, exactly. And that was his problem. And you can see that ahead of time. Not necessarily an evil person, not necessarily someone who was trying to cause harm to others for his own benefit. He just completely ignored the entire human race and was only for himself. And of course, for those who would consider seeing his belongs, basically. Okay, he had a love for the child, yes, but that was his child, that was his possessions, his possession. And he had tremendous devotion to her because it was his, and that was his main problem. So we have two things here: a child, talking about the physical sense, undergoing a painful, apparently painful discarnation, and a father suffering tremendously because of it. One have to ask, why? And as we know from the Spirit's book, if the cause is not to be found in the present life, it certainly is to be found in previous existences, right? So let's see what have those two individuals done to need to go through that kind of trial. One thing that of note over here that is important, the Spirit says, be happy that it is on earth that you are punished. As a comment, there's a lot of word punished here and there, here and there. We don't have to repeat again, right? That's a habit of the time of using such words when we were still under the strong influence of the Catholic teachings, and suffering was a very common word used that today we try to run away from it, right? You replace that with cause and consequences, basically, right? The Spirit, the protective Spirit says, be happy that it is on earth that you are punished. So it is on earth that you have an opportunity to clean up your act. Because in the physical world, you still have the buffer of the physical body that make things even easier for to deal with, and it's much more difficult in the spiritual world when you have nothing to buffer your pain. You have no necessities of maintaining this physical body, food, shelter, um, jobs, and everything that helps. The breaks gives a little break from the true suffering of our real problems. And by real problem here is the problems that pertains to the spirit, not to the physical existence. Going back to the spiritual world, you have no buffer. You have nothing else to think about but the cause of your suffering, and that becomes augmented more difficult. So be happy that is on earth that you are punished. And that is on earth that have an opportunity to clean up your act. And another thing that is interesting in the end over here is that the sap of youth is so abundant in this poor being that in spite of her frail state, her soul will have difficulties engaging itself. So you're talking about the complete separation of the physical body from the spirit-perispirit complex. Although she has a chronic disease that she is dying slowly, it's still a young physical body that seeks to remain alive. As we said before, matter seeks to live. And understanding that there is no life without the presence of the spirit, the matter will try to hold on to that perispirit complex as much as possible. So the complete discarnation, complete separation of the physical body from the spirit and the perispirit would be kind of difficult in her case, and that's the spirit ask the group to pray for her, to assist her in that separation. Questions? Okay, so go on.
Okay. Where are we? Dude. Due to is that where we're at? Dude. Yeah.
Yeah, due to
Due,
special permission.
yeah. Due to special permission from our Lord, I was able to answer what you have asked me, since it is necessary that this spirit be helped to make her disengagement easier. The father died later after having suffered the emptiness from losing his daughter. Following are the first communications which both gave after their respective deaths. The daughter. Thank you, my friend, for being concerned about this poor child and for having followed the counsels of your good guide. Yes, thanks to your prayers, it was easier for me to leave my earthly envelope behind because my father, alas, he didn't pray, he cursed. I'm not upset with him, however. It was a result of his great tenderness for me. I beg God to grant him the grace of being enlightened before he dies. I encourage him in my permission, and my mission is to soften his final moments. There are times when it seems that divine light enters him. However, it is nothing more than a passing light, and he quickly relapses into his old thoughts. He only has one seed of faith in him, but it is suffocated by worldly interests and will only sprout by means of new and more dreadful trials. At least that is what I fear. On my part, I only had the remnants of an expiation to endure, and thus it was neither very painful nor very difficult. I didn't suffer during my peculiar infirmity. I was more of an instrument of a trial for my father, for he suffered more at seeing me in such a state that I did. I was resigned to it. He was not. Now I have been rewarded. God granted me the grace of shortening my stay on the earth, for which I thank him. I am happy amidst the good spirits who surround me. We are all carrying out our duties with joy, because idleness would be cruel suffering.
Thank you.
The Father of... Okay.
Thank you. Okay. So it was mentioned here before, and I forgot to tell you that the father had some insights of asking and be a little bit more elevated at times, and for that, her discarnation was delayed for a while, and she had some more time on Earth. But soon after, the father again started having put himself in a state of rebelliousness, and she discarnated, as she would eventually anyway. And right after her discarnation, she comes back and gives the communication that you already read, while the father was still alive. The father died right after, I believe a month after, if I remember correctly. But uh, before his discarnation, she gave this communication. He was still alive. Okay, and it shows over here that this is a well prepared spirit. I'm not gonna say it's an evolved spirit but a spirit that was somewhat morally evolved. Okay, and we see that the fact that she did not suffer while going to that chronic disease, the fact that she has that great amount of indulgence towards the father, when she says over here, alas, he didn't pray, he cursed. I am not upset with him, however. It was the result of his great tenderness for me. So indulgence, by definition, as we know, the ability of putting the good above the bad, to recognize what's good in people before we start pointing out all that is bad in people, to have compassion to the limitations of others, right? And this is a great demonstration of it. She says, well, he didn't pray, he is rebellious, but what what I see here, the more important thing, is the great tenderness they had for me. That's a sign of indulgence, and that's a sign of someone being somewhat spiritualized, right? And in previous incarnation, she had done whatever she deserved to go through some difficulty. And for this incarnation, she only had, what I could say, a little bit of leftover of expiation to complete all the lessons that she needs to learn, okay, or to progress after learn the lessons, to transform that lessons into being part of herself. She just need a little bit, just a few years. And we see also the case of Marcel, the spirit of Marcel that I saw in the past. There was a spirit who also discarnated at a very young age. It just needed to come in for a short period of disincarnation. Not like ourselves have to go to the whole course. If it's a 15 minutes class, she just need 15 minutes of that class. She just need that little bit. And you see here what I always say, that perhaps the worst job, or most, not worst, but most challenging job in the spiritual world might be exactly to prepare those reincarnations to match all the probabilities. Because here you have a case of someone who just need a little teeny time here. We're gonna place that as parent. Someone who needs to undergo that trial, that difficulty of lose a child at a very young age. So that's a match that's perfect in the situation. This individual need to experience being away from the only thing that he considered in that existence, to learn a lesson that everyone is to be considered. Everyone is equal, and everyone has value. And on his case was the opposite. It was all about him and that daughter. The rest was basically transparent or invisible, totally invisible. So here they created this possibility in which basically is to kill two birds with one stone. Put a spirit who needs just a few years of reincarnation with someone who would benefit from this trial, from this lesson. And again, make sure that we not use the words to benefit from a lesson and not to be punished. All right, questions?
Yeah, I got one.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand, because from our studies, that it's not easy to come down here, to have the opportunity to reincarnate and amend for our wrongdoings. More spirits the other side in here, and we also know that we make we have done a lot of faults, not only with one person, but plenty of people. So I'm trying to understand the dynamics of coming here for such a short period, just to amend with one person or 2 or 3 person, whatever, since we could come and spend more time and and try to amend with different people. It looks like, I'm not gonna say like waste, but it seems that we could in that case she could have maybe amend with different people as well and stay a little bit longer than just amend with her father.
Okay, so there are a few things. What's given to us in this passage, the relationship with her and the father, does not mention anybody else. We don't know if there was anybody else. Certainly, she had a mother. She has had a mother. The mother is not mentioned over here. What is the degree of participation of the mother in this child's suffering, the present or the past? We don't know. So we have very little information to consider others, You only have information of her and her father. And from what you read here, she didn't come here really to what is the word you use again with the father?
To amend?
To amend, correct. From what I hear, there's nothing that leads us to think that she's going to amend with the father. She came here to amend with the divine law that she owed those little pieces of those little few years of reincarnation to complete an expiation and be done with it. Now, since she needs to come here and complete that little piece of expiation left over from the past, we're going to match her with someone who will benefit from the experience of losing a loved one at a very very young age. So not that she came to amend with him, okay? This way she came in a way actually that directly or indirectly, and by direct I mean that may not be necessarily her plan, but was the plan of the organizers of the incarnations, known like in Nosala when they have the department of the reincarnation plan, to match those two, because they both would benefit together in that reincarnation, each one in accordance to their needs. If, let's say, if you are going to college, okay, and you're required to take, let's say, I don't know, just that number, 100 credits to graduate. When you got to 98, you just need to do 2 more credits and you graduate, regardless of anybody else or anything else. You just own 2 more credits and you graduate. That was pretty much her case. She already had completed 98 credits. She needed to come back for 2 more credits, and let's say that each credit is 3 years. So if she lived 6 years, she was done. Gone. Bye-bye, I got my diploma. Why you'd stay here to do beyond what was needed? Since the happiness is in the spiritual world. Since now she declares, and now she's happy with all the spirits like herself in the spiritual world doing good work. That would be a punishment that she does not deserve, right?
Right.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the line that I was going was more of a, okay, she complete whatever was issue with her father.
Oh, with herself.
Yeah, with herself, with her father.
With the divine laws.
With the divine law. But it's not like, she complete that and became a perfect spirit.
No.
She get a lot of more stuff that, with different people that she also has to accomplish in order to, to evolve. So what I was thinking is, since, reincarnation, everything is like such a small chance for us to come down here, why, the need of only do that part of it? Because I'm sure that she has, different issues with different people and different kind of, things that she's done in the past, and use that reincarnation to amend with different people. Not only that, I'm just trying to understand
yeah, I understand.
why don't we get, it's like when you go to the, like for example, right now, when we go to the supermarket, we try to get as much as we can so we don't have to go back and expose ourselves. It's not like, I'm going to Costco just to buy orange and then come next week, and we try to do as much as we can because it's valuable, the reincarnation. And it seems that she only came to resolve that is important, and
Because that was a reincarnation plan. That was a plan for that reincarnation. The same way that, let's say, when you go to college, you take one course at a time. You know, it goes each semester at a time. For that semester, that's what she needs to do it. Maybe she'll come back next semester and take some of different courses. But she completed that course. That's what she needs to do for that present reincarnation. And keep in mind that the complexity of making the reincarnation plan, that everybody benefits from it. Okay, for the father to benefit from reincarnation in that condition, we'd have a short existence. It was important that she have a short existence. That was for him more than for her in terms of learning.
May I say something, Amo?
Please.
Also doesn't have to do with the fact that each one of us are in a different level of involvement, and therefore the experiences will always be different. And the same, I mean, this story, of course, is one story that we're reading about, but that goes to any other stories of people that have short-lived lives here. And who is to say that we didn't have in past reincarnations also short lives, who died at the age of 12, say, or, you know, just we also had an experience that was necessary for us and for the people around us to go through, of us dying young, and we had seen that also in other experiences. I think it has to do also with the fact of, as I said, the level of involvement of each one of us. Isn't that right, Elmo?
Yes, absolutely. Each one of us have different needs. Okay, and the opportunity of reincarnate is to supply this or that need. For she had the need to finish up that specific expiation, which are just a short existence. She had it done. She got it. Okay, if there is other people involved in that incarnation, most likely there is, as again, there is a mother somewhere, right? It's not mentioned here, so you cannot speculate, but you have to assume that there is other parts involved. There is a family member that happened to be a spiritist and was able to evoke them, was able to help her to disengage. So there is more pieces to the puzzle that is not being presented to us here in this case.
Yeah.
But I understand, I mean, in this case, incarnation here, you can say, you know, that they killed two birds with one stone. What Renato is saying, why can't you kill 100 birds with one stone?
There we go.
You know, because it's not so simple. You know, it's again, you have to individualize the needs, and her need was to have that short reincarnation. In that process, that you can match that need to another need, being the father, who need to experience losing a loved one at a young age.
Thanks.
Sure.
Okay.
Elmo?
Yes, please.
It's Teresa. I'd like to
Hi.
just make a comment. So, a couple things. So, back in the beginning, when it's the family friend who's the spiritist who asked, when they say they asked his protector spirit, they're asking the father's protector spirit, correct? When they say his protector spirit?
I believe the medium, the friends protecting spirit, I think.
Oh, so it's not the father, the friends. Okay. And so because they say protector spirit, it's not necessarily the guardian angel. It could be anybody, any spirit that's just supportive of that person, right?
It leads me to think that was his spiritual guide, but could be the protective spirit of the center where he worked his spiritism studies. I'm not sure.
Right. Okay.
It leads me to believe there was a spiritual guide, but could be the protecting spirits of that particular center where he studied spiritism.
Right. Because I mean, a guardian angel is a protector spirit, but other, I mean, just kind of like people who are sympathetic to that spirit are, you know, in a sense, protectors as well. Maybe not the actual guardian, but anyway, okay. So then my other thought was, so I tend to agree with you that she probably is not a perfected spirit. But what I would like to ask is, what would lead, I mean, there's nothing in this story that says she is or she isn't. So like, what would identify that it was her last incarnation, that she was going to be a perfected spirit after this? I mean, what would be clues to identify either way or the other? Because they don't really give you enough information to, you know, I mean, I mean, can you be absolutely sure that she's not going to be you know, that this wasn't her final time to incarnate? Are you following the question?
To incarnate on the planet Earth as a planet of trial and expiation means, right? You mean?
Well, I don't know, or any planet. I mean, how do we know? We don't really know, right? I mean, I don't think there's enough in the story, or maybe there is, and that's why I'm asking. What would lead us? What would tell us if?
That would lead me to believe that um, should have to have another reincarnation, but on the planet Earth as a planet of trials and expiation. The simple fact that he incarnated here so recently, you know, it was that 200 years ago or so, leads me to think more likely she requires further incarnations. Perhaps not in this planet Earth of trial and expiations, perhaps in another planet, perhaps when we move out of the situation, become a planet of regeneration. Maybe she already made the cut for the next phase. There is absolutely nothing that I can say one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
But the laws of probabilities, I would think that she would reincarnate here a couple more times before she's ready for the planet of regeneration. But again, that is nothing that I can back my answer on.
Yeah. Okay. And did you say, I didn't catch that. You said that 200 years. I guess I missed that. Where is that about her in 200 years?
It started being about around the time of Kardec, because that's when they started doing spiritism, and there was a spiritist already, right?
Okay.
I'm guessing around about 200 years, right? Because there it was already spiritism, right? And was around the time of putting this book together.
Uh-huh.
Around 200 years.
1850, yes. 170 years.
Oh, you're saying this occurred 170 years ago.
Yeah, something like that, yes.
Oh, okay. Misunderstood. I thought you were saying that her soul was 200. I misunderstood.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay.
This fact happened, that reincarnation happened at about, 180, 200 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Elmo,
Yes, I'm listening.
I'd like to share with the group that I do have a dear friend, listen to the story, who lost his daughter when she was 25 and then lost his son when the son was 50. Okay, just wanted to, the more or less it's a parallel to what we're talking about. But, that I do have the experience of a friend losing 2 children.
You say 25 years?
No. The girl, the first child, she was 25 years old. Mm-hmm. And the second child was 50 years old. So one was 25, then after 25 years, he lost another son. They were grown-ups already. But so it was a very kind of traumatic experience for him.
Yeah, we expect, as parents, we expect to be buried by our children, not to bury our children, right? So it's always traumatic, but 25 and 50, that's good enough. I just heard of a baby died at 3 months old, they're choking on the milk. So it's
That's what
happening
they.
every minute. It's happening right
Yeah.
now as we talk. There is a parent grieving that the loss of a child less than a year old or 3 years
What?
old. It's happening
That's
right
what
now
they.
as we speak.
That's what they call sudden infant death syndrome. No, something like that.
That's another cause.
Sudden says sudden infant death syndrome.
Yeah, that's one of the many causes that it's happening right now as we speak, quite a few times.
Yeah. So it does happen. It does happen. Wow.
Yeah, that's happening, and there is always a cause, and more than a cause, an objective, right? And that's
Yes.
what we study here. That's why I study here, causes and objectives.
Wow.
Yep. It's not because God is mean and want to see us suffer.
No, 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 no. I get it. Yeah, quite well presented.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue.
Hmm.
The father, about 1 month after his death. Our purpose in evoking you is to inquire about your situation in the spirit world so that we might be useful. We might be useful to you and the best of our abilities, to the best of our abilities. The world of spirits, I can't see it. I can only see the people I knew, but who do not think of me or miss me. On the contrary, they seem content at being free of me. Are you well aware of your condition? Perfectly. For a while I thought I still belonged to your world, but I now know very well that I do not. Then why can't you see other spirits around you? I don't know. Everything is clear around me. Have you seen your daughter yet? No, she is dead. I have looked for her and have called for her in vain. What an awful emptiness her death left in me. When I died, I thought there could be no doubt that I would meet her, but nothing. Always this isolation around me. No one gives me a word of hope or consolation. Goodbye. I am going to go and look for my child.
Thank you. So sometime after the daughter discarnate died, the father followed her, went back to the spiritual world, also died, and 1 month after his death was able to provide this communication. Um, in that communication, they ask him if he knows where he is. That he does recognize now that he's the word of the spirit in the spiritual world, but all he sees is those that he knew in the past, that he completely ignored in the past, that he completely pretend to not seen them if they were transparent or invisible. And now the exact same is happening to him, that no one sees him, no one acknowledge his presence in any possible way. That, what we say, we are the cause and consequence. Action and reaction is actually happening to him at that exactly situation. Those that he completely ignored now basically do not perceive his presence in any possible way. And that is a difficult trial that he's undergoing right now. As a note and put up for discussion, we know that there's cause and consequence. Okay. We know that upon going to the spiritual world, we go where our conscience takes us, right? We go and have to deal with those with whom we have issues to resolve. If you are able to resolve there, if not, then we reincarnate with them eventually, right? But in his particular case, he didn't do anything to these people. He didn't harm them. He didn't wish them evil. He just completely ignored them. Why is he being associated with these individuals? Why does he see those individuals?
That's a good question. Wow. Yes.
Okay, so we see, and we see this also in the previous case that we saw. What is the name again? The Castanandri case. The guy who killed his wife and his brother because think they were having an affair and had been condemned to stay in that environment for a bunch of years. Forgot the time they're in. And that says that in that specific case, specifically that the spirits was hold him basically and they would not allow him to live. If he tried to live, he would end up in absolute darkness or the sense of nothingness that create even more fear to him. And he stood in that house, overseeing his crimes over and over and over again in a bath of blood and living that situation repeatedly. But he could not leave because outside of that home was absolutely darkness. And the states right there that was kind of forced upon him beyond his free will, so to say. I question if it is a little bit of the same case, because I don't think his conscience would lead him to be in that situation with those spirits that he ignored. This conscience, as it says in the very end, only leads him to go look for his child. And his child is right there with him, and he cannot perceive her presence, by the way. Right. So I think that this here is one of those cases like the first one that I mentioned, in which divine providence kind of restrains the free will a little bit in order for you to progress, in order for you to learn. Like over here, sometimes you put someone out of society as a lesson that they may require. Unfortunately, it's different. It leads me to believe that that was forced upon him for him to recognize the value of others, the value of living community and giving everyone the proper value that makes us a much better individual and a much better society. And in that, in the spiritual world, he's still what he cares is about himself and about her daughter. So let's see what the medium's guide says here.
Wait a minute, Elmo.
Sure.
It's Teresa.
Mhm.
I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking more like No Solar, how Andre Luis couldn't see his mother because she was at a different vibration. And so I think it's similar to what you're saying. I think it's like there's action and reaction or cause and effect or whatever. And I think that he just was not at a vibration to be able to see her. So I mean, I guess I don't see it as yes, an imposition, but an imposition of his own conscience or his own level of vibration. He's kind of self-imposing that he's not able to see her, or and perhaps probably not the other spirits because he doesn't care about the other people. So I guess I was seeing it a little bit differently.
Yeah. In regard to the daughter, I kind of agree with you that she is vibrating on a much higher level than he is. But in regard to the other spirit that he sees, it's exact the fact that he sees them that I believe is some kind of forced upon him because he just didn't care about them.
Yeah, but it was his own. It's kind of like it's a reaction from him not caring while he was on the earth. So now here he is in the spiritual world, and so it's a response to that. So now he's unable to see the people. He had the chance on earth, but
No, he's able to see them. They are not able to see him. That's
oh,
the opposite. He has witnessed them ignoring him. Before he ignored everyone, he didn't
uh-huh.
see anyone. Now he sees everyone, but everyone else ignores him completely. So it's the opposite.
No. They ask him. They say, they said, then why can't you see other spirits around you? And he says, I don't know. Everything is clear around me.
Yeah, but he says, I see the people that I knew in the past.
Well, yeah, you're right. He does say that. So it's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and the one that they saw in the past completely ignore him.
Yeah.
The fact that it's all clear around him means the place where he finds himself in the lower zones, he can see clearly. Like André Luis could see clearly. André Luis complained of dark clouds and noises and screens, but he could see around him. So he can see around him. He just cannot see, like you guys were saying, he cannot see his daughter.
No. He says specifically, I can only see the people I knew, but who do not think of me or miss me. On the contrary, they seem content at being free of me. So he sees only those that in the past he completely ignored.
And the guilty conscience, right?
Right. And so I think I agree with that. But I think the imposition is, like Joao just said, his conscience.
Yeah, I don't think he has a guilty conscience yet. He did not get to the point of having a guilty conscience yet. This is being forced upon him so he can develop eventually a guilt conscience and benefit from it.
Yes, but I still think I don't know. I think the imposition is from himself. I don't believe God imposes on us. So that's just my point. But anyway, that's my comment.
But in the case of that we read before, of that spirit, it's saying that, strictly saying that, I'm not going to look for it now, that that's being forced upon him to not being able to leave that house for a while. So to me, but again, that's my impression. And of course, everyone can disagree with that.
Elmo, Luisa, I understand Teresa's point of view. I think maybe you guys are saying the same thing, but with a different language.
No, we're not. We are saying two different things.
Because I think he cannot see his daughter because he has not get the conscience of his behavior, or he has not changed a bit in order to be able to see her, isn't it?
Yeah, we all agree with that. All three of us agree with that.
Okay.
The part that we do not agree is the fact he can only see those that he ignored in the past. Because I don't think he have evolved enough even to be guilty, to have a guilt conscience yet. So this is being somewhat forced upon him so he can develop the guilt conscience and start the process of regret, repent, repair.
I agree with you because he ignored them all the time, right? So yeah, he has to evolve as a spirit in order to see other people and other spirits and even his daughter.
Yes, but again, I see that as a consequence of cause and effect, not God imposing it on him. That, that's all. Because I don't know, we know time and time again, God doesn't impose on us. It's us. It's the cause and effect. So, that's all. I think it is really the same thing. The minor thing, or maybe major, I don't know, is just the imposing thing of where that imposing is coming from. Is it coming from God or is it coming from us? It can come from our conscience without being guilt. It doesn't have to involve guilt. It can still come from our conscience. So, but yeah, I think let's not beat a dead horse and move on.
Yeah, you have to agree to disagree at that point.
Right.
Simple as that. Okay, so let's see what the mediums say. Medium's guides say.
Yeah. Medium's guide. This man was neither an atheist nor a materialist, but one of those who vaguely believed without being concerned about God and their future because they are so absorbed with earthly interests. He was profoundly selfish and would undoubtedly have sacrificed everything to save his daughter, but he would also have unscrupulously sacrificed other people's interests to his own advantage. Except for his daughter, he was not attached to anyone. God punished him, as you know, taking from him his sole consolation on earth. And since he did not repent, she is also kept from his sight in the world of spirits. He took no interest in anyone while on earth. Here, no one takes an interest in him. He is alone and abandoned. That is his punishment. Nevertheless, his daughter is close to him even though he does not see her. If he could see her, he would not be punished. But what does he do? Does he speak to God? Does he repent? No. He continues to complain, even to blasphemy. In other words, he does what he did on earth. So help him through prayer and counsel so that he may come out of his blindness.
Okay. So in one word, those were the topic of the first type, the first part of the story, selfishness. On the very end of the definition that João gave, completely disregard to everyone else. He was not mean. He didn't want to harm anyone, but it says over here clearly. He was profoundly selfish and would undoubtedly have sacrificed everything to save his daughter, and here you go. But he would also have I can say this word, usually whatever, sacrifice other people's interest to his own advantage. So it gives this, what I just read, is exactly the definition of selfishness that John presented in the beginning of the chapter. It's someone, I don't want to cause harm to anyone, but if I have to step with someone to get what I want or to get what I need, I will do so without any consideration whatsoever. That was his problem.
Yeah.
Not so-called answering Paco's question.
Yeah.
I'm not selfish. I just want to win all the lottos that you have available alone, so I can buy me a duplex in every metropolis in this planet. But I just won't have a huge duplex in each metropolis in this world. So if I win alone, all the lottos and megas and this and that, everything alone, when it's a big jackpot, I'll be able to do that. And I'll have all that money buying big house for myself without any consideration of the needs of others.
Hey, Elmo.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about something, because we've seen like different cases and with similar patterns that people they're stubborn, they're suffering, or they're arrogant, egotistic, whatever. And usually, what breaks through them, it's the presence of the loved ones. When they see it, they put their guards down, and then some work can be done. Is there anything different on this case that we're missing? Why he's still on the, among strangers and trying to figure out, not by himself, but, without the lovely figure for him to maybe, open up and break through?
Because it's the right time for everything, right? The same way that you go back to Andre Luis, his mother was there all along. He could perceive her presence because he was not ready to. His daughter is there, is always trying to help him, but he needs to go through a few more lessons before he's ready to see her again. If he sees her again, that's my position now. He would remain the same selfish person who now has his daughter at his side, doesn't need anything else, doesn't need anyone else. you continue being the same thing, and that's what the Spirit also says over here. God punished him, as you know, take from him his sole consolation on earth, and since he did not repent, she is also kept from his sight in this world of spirits. Because if he could see his daughter, he would remain the same. That's what it was on earth. It was him and his daughter, and that's it. The rest of the world means nothing. So he needs to go a period without her to know the necessary lessons, and then he'll be able
Yeah,
to see her again.
yeah. I wasn't thinking about her because since the whole situation was involving her, I was thinking a family member, a friend, some familiar face in that case. But you already answered that he's not ready for no one. Doesn't matter if it's a friend or a grandparent or whatever. He needs some work to do before I get to that point, right?
Yeah, and since that his level of ignoring the whole world is again, there is a mother in the case. Now, there's no mention of the mother whatsoever. He perhaps disregard even her. There's no, naturally he does have people who loves him and cares for him, right? I mean, everybody has a mother, everybody has a father, everybody has fathers and mothers from previous incarnations. But it seems that him, and right now at his stage, he only cares about himself and no one else except his daughter.
And I think that the relationship with his daughter may be of more of a possession and not that of true love, right?
Possibly, yes. And I mentioned that before. Yes.
In that case, the presence of the daughter will just fulfill his desire to be close to her and not to repair his own issues, right?
Yep.
I was also this is Teresa again. I was also wondering, it seems to me possibly that this spirit could be at risk for the like becoming so preoccupied with finding his daughter, like that it becomes the mono idea or whatever, that where they just get on that one track. Yeah. And so I know I shouldn't say it, but like he could become an obsessor spirit or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are very real possibilities. I agree.
But remember always that obsession is a two-way street, right? So if the daughter doesn't allow this process to happen with her, he may try to obsess her, but cannot find her.
Yeah, and it seems to me it wouldn't work because she has an elevated heart, how she has tenderness, sees that he really, he's, she says it in here, something about, his tenderness for her or something like that, whatever. But I think, this is interesting, because she says how she was willing to resign and he was not. And I know, Elmo, you say a lot about resignation, about it's consent without rebelliousness, or you say something, I hear you say it a lot in the center, about, and it's I think in one of the books, the gospel, it says that resignation is when we consent through the heart, and it's not just like a surrender, like a I give up kind of thing, but it's using our reasoning and saying, yes, this is, to honor the will of God or whatever, or I shouldn't say God's will either, but to honor the divine. But so I think there's a lot of lessons in here. Yeah,
I agree.
All right, we went over.
Yeah, I was hoping to finish the book today, but we're gonna leave the last case for next week.
Yes.
Joseph Maitri, blind man, which is kind of short, but these are short also. I thought we would do both. But I like when I have questions and dispute. I love the disputes more than anything else. I think that's what enriches the studies, because if you just have one angle of view from one side, if we have multiple angles, we can always learn from someone else.
Yes, but I think also, Elmo, is that I don't see it as dispute. I see this as a study. So we learn together, right? So
Yes.
if we all give, then we
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
that much
just
faster. Yeah, I don't see it as a dispute. I see
yeah,
it
there
as
was it was a bad choice of word on my part. Yes, I agree
okay.
with you.
Anyway, thank you.
All right. Who is going to do our final prayer? Teresa, what about you?
Okay, Joao. So let us. I hope it's not too noisy because I do have someone in the other room talking loud. It's okay?
It's okay.
Okay. So let us quiet our minds and our bodies. Let us settle ourselves, relax, absorbing the teachings. Let us process what we've heard. And we best absorb this as we relax our minds with calmness. And we'd like to thank Kardec and the spirits, spirit mentors of SGNY for this beautiful platform that we can come together to learn and share with one another. We also thank Jesus, our role model and master, governor of our planet. We thank our own protecting spirits for ongoing inspiration and guidance. Let us carry with us into our evening and even tomorrow into our week the lessons of selfishness, learning to regard the feelings and even just presence of others. Let us practice empathy to be connected with others and how we can be of assistance. And let us always remember Mother Mary and her acceptance of the divine plan, even at the foot of Jesus's cross. We are thankful and grateful for this sacred life. With respect and humility, we ask permission to close our session, and so be it.